Hi, it's Wendy Valencia from wendyvalencia.com, and today I wanted to tell you my 10 biggest budgeting failures. If you are failing at budgeting, please don't feel alone because, you know, people look at my budgets and are like, oh, they're so organized and so perfect. I have been doing this for 13 years now, so I got some experience behind my belt. But I have made some massive mistakes all along the way. And truth be told, I still make mistakes today. My first error, and this started out really early on, was not reconciling. Yeah, you can make a plan, but if you don't actually check to see if you're on plan, how do you expect to stay on plan? I know, it wasn't smart. I learned. My second biggest budgeting failure was actually pretty recently, and that was trying budgeting styles that didn't fit with my personality. So I am a super detail-oriented person, and actually this year I was trying a super laid-back, like general budget, and it didn't work. It did not work for my personality. We were over budget all the time. I need strict guidelines all the time in my life. That's just the way I am. My third biggest budgeting failure was that we cut out too much. And this happened a couple of years ago. And we left very little money in there for fun, for doing anything, for enjoying life. And it backfired. We have spent the last 2 years really just enjoying everything and kind of going off the rails because we made it too tight to meet some financial goals. If you cut out too much, when you start adding things back in, you go out of control. And that's, you start binge eating and just shoving food in your face. Our fourth biggest budgeting failure was that we didn't have a cushion in our budget. We have a category in our budget called "We Are Dumb," because you know what? There are going to be things we forget. There are going to be things that we just don't even think about, and they're going to cost money, and we're going to want to do them. So we plan for them by not planning for them. We just have a category that has, $100, sometimes 200, and it's just there for when we screw up. Our fifth biggest budgeting failure was that we didn't plan for being over budget. It's going to happen. You are going to have a month where maybe there is some catastrophic failure in your car and you don't have enough money in your car fund to pay for it. Or like for us, the ice maker downstairs died and we don't have an ice maker in our fridge. We have an external ice maker and it died a lot. So we had to buy a new ice maker, and that's a lot of money. That wasn't in the budget. We could have gone without it and bought bags of ice, sure, but that gets to be a pain in the butt. I know, because we've done it for the last 4 months because it's taken that long to get the new ice maker. So we actually also have a short-term savings funds, which some people call them sinking funds. And it is there for the times that we go over budget. It is like a mini emergency fund. I mean, technically it's part of the emergency fund, I guess. But if I've learned anything, and you can do this any way you want, but you got to have a plan for being over budget. Our sixth biggest budgeting failure was that we didn't look at the calendar. This was a huge breakthrough. It happened, about 5 years ago. And once I learned to integrate my budget with the calendar, everything got better. I started looking at the events that were coming up. I started looking at the doctor's appointments we had. So we always had money in there in the budget for those things. Our seventh biggest budgeting failure was not planning for annual expenses. And I figured this out like 3 years ago that I just needed a spreadsheet for all my expenses and the month they occur in. And I actually offer this as a freebie when you sign up for my newsletter. So if you're interested in that, I'll put the link down in the description box. I email about twice a month just to, keep you updated on what's going on and the biggest thing I've learned recently. This Excel spreadsheet has saved me so many times that I have forgotten things. And I've even put stuff in there like big sales. Like every year in November, Cole Haan has a huge shoe sale, and Mauricio wears predominantly mostly Cole Haan shoes. So we always wait until November and buy his shoes. Not this November though. He wanted new shoes. He didn't get new shoes. Our 8th biggest budgeting failure was that we didn't have anything saved for emergencies. So I did, when I first started out years ago, before we bought our first house, I had money saved, but I didn't really have a purpose for it. And our house basically fell apart around us, and we ended up going through that small emergency fund pretty quickly. And we never really built that up. In the beginning, we were trying really hard to really follow Dave Ramsey's plan. And so we had $1,000 savings for emergencies, and learned real quickly that $1,000 does not help us in an emergency. Our emergencies are like $4,000 and $5,000. We needed a big, multi-figure emergency fund as we were paying off debt, because we had a big debt payoff, and it wasn't like just a year for us to pay off debt. It was going to be like 5 years to pay off all our debt. We've been saving all along for that. Our 9th biggest budgeting failure was that we were living paycheck to paycheck. At our income, it is disgusting for me to think that we are living paycheck to paycheck. About 3 years ago, we decided to get one full month ahead. And so we scrimped and saved for several months to save up the equivalent of what we earn in 1 month. And then once we had saved that, that was going to be our money for the next month. Then as we earn the money, it goes in a savings account. So it took us a while to get there. But now everything I earn, let's say in December, every little cent that comes in goes into a savings account. And on the 1st of January, all that money will be dumped into our checking account, and that's what we operate on for all of January. The 10th biggest budgeting failure, this one is kind of, a first world problem, but we did not think about vacations, big ones and small ones. Road trips, like overnight road trips, they cost money. And generally for us, our overnight road trips cost, anywhere from $500 to $1,000, depending on where we're going. We didn't really plan for those, and we would impulsively travel places for the weekend, and it would cost money, and we didn't have that money saved. So you're going to find out in January when I go over all of our short-term savings funds, what you guys probably know as sinking funds. We always have a vacation fund. That way we can pull money out of it should we decide at the spur of a moment to go travel somewhere. We can pay cash for it, and we don't have to worry about it being in our budget. So I'll see you in the next one.